All right, so you guys sent in some really creepy stuff for this deep dive.
Yeah, this one's definitely got me intrigued.
Yeah, we're looking into the story of this house.
Just a normal house, too?
Yeah, an ordinary Victorian terrace
At 31 Wellington Road.
in Todmorden, West Yorkshire, but within its walls.
Yeah, there's like this whole series of disturbing events.
And it goes on for like almost 20 years.
Pretty much, yeah. It starts in 1977 with this new family
Oh, okay.
moving in, and it all culminates in this horrifying discovery in 94.
Ooh, okay, so where are we getting this story from?
Well, our main source here is an excerpt from a fictional podcast
Oh, okay.
called Whispers from the Dark,
Okay,
specifically Season 1, Episode 1, The Woman in the Wall,
gotcha.
and that comes from their horror.pdf document you sent.
Oh, right.
So we're not just going to like recount the story, though.
Right.
We're going to unpack the strange occurrences.
Yeah, I get into like the nitty-gritty.
Understand the dark secret at the heart of this house.
Ooh, I like that.
And really trace how this mystery impacted the people who live there.
So we're starting in 1977.
Yes, with the Beckwith family moving in.
Okay, paint me a picture. What was that like?
Well, the podcast does a great job of setting a normal scene.
Okay.
You've got James, he's a mechanic.
Okay.
His wife, Sandra, worked at the local primary school.
Mm-hmm.
And their two kids, Caroline, who was 14,
Okay.
and Matthew, he was 10.
All right.
They move into this red brick Victorian row house.
Nothing too fancy?
Nope, totally ordinary on the surface.
Oh, okay.
But there were some red flags right away.
Like what?
The house had been empty for 3 years, which is kind of strange.
Right.
And it was priced really low.
That's always suspicious.
You would think so, right?
Yeah.
Also, when Sandra first walked in,
Yeah.
she said the air felt wrong.
Ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah, heavy and still.
Like something was off.
Exactly. It makes you think about the stories a house can hold.
Yeah, like what happened there before,
Exactly.
Spooky.
And that feeling became really real in Caroline's bedroom. The small back bedroom upstairs, it was always freezing cold.
What, like all the time?
Yeah, even when it was warm outside.
Huh.
They checked the radiators, everything.
That's strange.
James even joked about it being haunted.
Oh, did he know?
But nobody really thought it was funny.
I bet not.
It just added to the creepy feeling in the house.
So then it got even worse.
Yeah, then the sounds started.
What kind of sounds?
Caroline started hearing tapping and scratching.
Coming from where?
From the wall, right by her bed.
Ugh, no thank you.
Like fingernails on plaster, you know?
Oh, that's so creepy.
At first, James and Sandra were like, it's probably just rats.
That's what you would think, right?
Makes sense, but they set traps and nothing.
So it wasn't rats.
Nope. But the scratching kept going.
Ah,
And it got louder, like angrier almost.
that is not a rat.
Right. Like something else was going on.
Yeah.
And all this really messed with Caroline.
Yeah, I can imagine.
She started having nightmares.
Oh, that's awful.
At first, they were just vague, like bad feelings when she woke up.
Mm-hmm.
But then she started seeing this woman
A woman.
in her dreams every time.
What did she look like?
Pale, with sunken eyes and torn lips.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, and she was always at the foot of Caroline's bed.
Ugh, no thank you.
Yeah, classic horror movie stuff.
Straight out of a nightmare.
Totally. And she always said the same thing.
What was that?
Let me out.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So creepy.
That's so sad and scary at the same time.
I know, and Caroline said the voice changed too.
How so?
At first it was just scary, but then it sounded more like pleading.
Like the woman was trapped or something?
Yeah, like she was desperate to get out.
It sends chills down my spine.
It's a really unsettling detail.
Definitely.
And then one night, Caroline woke up screaming.
Oh no, what happened?
She said the woman touched her.
She actually touched her.
Yeah, icy fingers on her cheek.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary.
I know. So at this point, Sandra was really freaked out.
Yeah, I can't blame her.
So she called a priest.
Makes sense.
It was a different time. You know? The podcast describes the priest's visit.
Okay.
He did the whole thing, prayers, holy water.
The whole 9 yards.
Yeah, and he said it was just old energy.
Like the house needed to be cleansed or something.
Exactly. But here's the thing.
What?
As he was leaving, he muttered a Latin blessing at the door.
Really?
Like maybe even he felt there was something more to it.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, like a contradiction, you know?
So, did the priest's visit help?
Not really. The scratching continued every night.
Oh my gosh.
Like whatever was there wasn't going away that easily.
That's so creepy.
Yeah, it's kept going.
Wow. Okay, so what happened next?
Well, in 1980, the Beckwiths suddenly moved out.
Just like that.
They said James got a new job in Manchester. But when you look at what happened after,
Yeah.
it makes you wonder if that was the real reason.
What do you mean?
Well, a couple moved in after them, and they only lasted 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah, and then a retired couple moved in,
Huh.
and they left even faster.
Really? How fast?
They just abandoned their furniture, wouldn't even talk about it.
Like they were traumatized or something.
You have to wonder what they saw or heard in that house.
It must have been really bad.
Yeah, bad enough to make them run away.
Wow. So what happened to the house then?
It stood empty again, and the rumors started spreading.
Oh.
People were talking about the girl who went mad
Oh my gosh.
and the woman in the walls.
So creepy.
It became this local legend.
I love that.
Yeah, it's fascinating how these stories develop.
It's like the community trying to make sense of something scary.
Exactly.
So the house was just abandoned then?
Well, for a while,
Okay.
in 1994, a new owner came along, Tom Ellison.
What was he like?
He was a fixer-upper kind of guy.
Oh, okay.
He wanted to renovate the house, turn it into student rentals.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and this is where things get really interesting, because his renovations led to the discovery of the house's dark secret.
Oh no, I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
So what happened?
Tom was working upstairs, stripping the old wallpaper,
Mm-hmm.
and he noticed this hollow sound in one of the walls.
Like something was behind it?
Yeah, not just a regular echo, like a void.
Ooh, that would freak me out.
I know, right? So he knocked on the wall,
Yeah.
and it sounded even weirder.
Oh my gosh.
So he decided to pry open the plasterboard.
He didn't.
He did.
What was behind it?
A small cavity about 2 feet wide.
And
Inside the cavity were human remains.
no way.
Yeah, just bones wrapped in rotting cloth and dust.
Oh my god.
The podcast describes it as a scream frozen in bone.
That's so disturbing.
It is. It really paints a picture of terror.
So it wasn't a haunting, it was a real person.
A very real and tragic death.
What did the police find out?
They did a forensic analysis, determined the remains were female,
Okay.
probably in her mid-20s.
And how long has she been there?
They estimated she died sometime in the early 1950s.
Wow, so she'd been hidden for decades.
It's a long time.
Did they figure out who she was?
It was tough. There was no clothing left, no ID.
Nothing at all.
Well, they found one thing, a locket.
Oh.
It was really corroded, but it had a faded photo inside.
Of.
A man in some kind of uniform.
Interesting, that's all they had to go on.
Pretty much, and the most disturbing detail,
What was that?
there were scratch marks inside the wall
The
cavity.
scratch mark.
Yeah, deep gouges in the plasterboard.
Like she tried to get out.
Exactly. They even found fingernail fragments embedded in the wall.
Oh my gosh, that's horrifying.
It is. It means she was alive in there for some time.
Trapped in the wall.
It's a terrible thought.
So did the police ever solve the case?
Sadly, no.
What happened?
They tried to find a match for her in missing persons databases,
Uh-huh.
but nothing came up.
And back then, they didn't have DNA testing like they do now.
Right, technology was limited.
So sad.
Yeah, they did find a connection to a previous owner from the 1960s,
Okay.
a man named Harold Danvers, but he'd already died.
So another dead end.
It seemed like it. An old neighbor came forward with some information.
What did they say?
They remembered a young woman who worked as a housemaid at number 31 back in the 1950s,
Uh-huh.
but she disappeared one day.
Just gone.
Everyone assumed she moved to the city for a better life.
Which makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, but nobody ever thought to check the walls.
Oh my gosh, how awful.
I know. Such a tragic oversight.
So the police figured it was foul play, right?
They suspected a lover, or maybe even Danvers was involved.
But they couldn't prove anything.
Nope, the case went cold.
What happened to the woman's remains?
They were buried anonymously.
And the locket.
They placed it in her coffin.
That's nice.
A little piece of her story.
That's so sad.
It is a life lost and forgotten for so long.
So what happened to the house?
Well, it's still standing,
Really?
but it has a bit of a reputation now.
I can imagine.
They say new tenants still experience strange things.
Like what?
The persistent cold in the back bedroom
Oh, wow.
and the scratching sounds in the walls.
Just like Caroline.
Exactly.
That's so creepy.
And some people have reported hearing a woman's voice.
No way.
Yeah, whispering through the drywall.
What does she say?
Let me out.
Oh my gosh, that's the same thing Caroline heard.
I know, it's like she's still trapped there.
This story is so unsettling.
It really is.
It makes you wonder what really happens after we die.
Yeah, it's a question that has haunted humanity for centuries.
And it makes you think twice about the places we live in.
Right, like what secrets might be hidden in our own walls.
That's a thought I'll never shake.
I know, it's both fascinating and terrifying at the same time.
It really is, and I think that's what makes these stories so compelling.
Exactly, they tap into our deepest fears and curiosities.
So what do you think? Is 31 Wellington Road really haunted?
Well, that's a question for each individual to answer. But one thing's for sure, this house holds a dark and tragic history.
And it seems like that history is still unfolding.
Yeah, the story isn't over yet.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
It definitely does.
Thanks for diving into this with me.
Of course, it's always a pleasure to explore these mysteries.
And to all our listeners out there, keep sending in those creepy stories.
We love hearing them.
Until next time, stay curious and stay spooky.
And maybe check your walls.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.